Hey everybody, this is Torrance Davis with Bubba Bass Anglers. Today on Retail Therapy, I have a video clip sent by Duckett Fishing. A couple weeks ago, Duckett Fishing introduced all their new baits. They basically hooked up with a new company, well, not a new company, an existing company that produced baits. And they are going to take a lot of their baits that they were making and distribute them in North America, as well as produce a bunch of new baits. So I have this video, and Boyd goes through all the new baits that they're going to be releasing, starting in the fall, and then going on to 2021. So they basically partnered with a company called Molix Baits. I don't know if you've ever heard of Molix Baits, but they partnered with them, and they're going to take all their brands, or all the stuff that Boyd actually liked, and distribute them in North America. So this video is pretty cool. I asked a couple questions myself, but what was real interesting to me was how transparent Boyd was in terms of what colors to use, what baits actually work. He will not put his name on a bait if it doesn't catch fish, which I thought was really interesting, and I thought it was really cool that he was really transparent about that. And he also talked openly about a lot of different brands during this conference, which was pretty cool. So really love that. Check it out. Leave a comment. Let me know how you feel, and I'll see you on the next Retail Therapy video.
We ready?
We're ready.
Yeah, and just in case everyone didn't hear, we are going to record this, so just a heads up there.
Yeah. So yeah, again, I'd like to welcome everybody this morning to the Duckett Fishing press conference. My name is Todd Fuller, and I'm with TBA Outdoors, and Aaron is associate of us as well. And we're the PR partner for Duckett Fishing. So before we get started, I just wanted to kind of go through a little agenda, kind of how the call is going to go. So Boyd will kind of introduce the new partnership with Molix, and then really kind of dig in and talk about a little bit about the products and the why and why they chose the products they did and so forth. And then at the end, we'll have a question and answer. So if you could save your questions till the end, that would be great. And then we'll have a nice, question and answer session at the end. And also, if you could just put yourself on mute, that would be great as well. And Boyd, I'll let you take it from here. But just wanted to thank everybody for joining us this morning.
Yeah, same here, guys. We sure appreciate your time. I know everybody's busy trying to keep their deadlines and content written for web and requirements. So hello and nice to meet you. For those that I don't know, I reviewed the names. I've met or know most of you. But for any of those that I don't, I'm Boyd Duckett. You're familiar with Duckett Fishing. Obviously, we're a quality manufacturer of rods and reels. And I want to kind of tell you the story. We'll have time maybe to talk about these baits specifically, but a little bit about who Duckett Fishing is. You know, our slogan, if you will, is pro-driven. You know, so what does that really mean? What that means for us is we have an extensive pro staff. Not only are we pro-owned from myself, but we try to approach manufacturing of rods and reels and the things that we've done, previous debates, around what makes a difference in an angler's day. It's not a matter of manufacturing fishing rods and hoping people buy it. Tremendous amount of testing process. We probably build more sample blanks than anybody in the industry. It's probably an unprofitable process, okay? But it's the way that we do things, and that's what makes it fun. Those of you that know me know that I have fished my whole life, but I've also worked my whole life. The last 4 or 5 years, I've converted most of my energy into the fishing industry, which I have a passion for and I love to be part of. Duckett Fishing is a passion business for me. I'm also, president and CEO and co-owner of Major League Fishing and FLW. Have a marine dealership, so as well as Duckett Fishing. So I spend all of my days working in the fishing industry now, which is great. You know, I enjoy that so much. So I'm very fortunate to be able to guide my business ventures into things that I enjoy. So what that's meant is we spend a lot of time doing stuff that we think's cool, that we enjoy doing. If we build a cranking rod, it's the right cranking rod, you know, for all the reasons. It's the things that we do at a pro level. We approach the baits the same way. I had a partnership. I'm just going to give full disclosure as to how we got here. So a couple of years ago, I did a partnership with Trophy Technologies on BD baits. Y'all have probably heard of them or seen of them. And it was the same premise. My only interest in being in the bait business was to build baits that would make a difference for an angler, that were high quality baits. We started down that road, and we couldn't agree on that process. So last year, Larry and I bought out the half of that other company, and we shifted some of that manufacturing. So BD Baits doesn't exist anymore. It will all be under the Duckett Fishing umbrella. Duckett Fishing packaging, which you'll all come to see on these different baits. And we have several suppliers that we've moved to, high-end suppliers, to build premium baits. You know, the kind of stuff we want to build, not the stuff we have to build, because we don't have to build anything. This is something that I want to do, and I want to be proud of it, and I want them to be better than what the market has to offer. So that's the whole goal here. That's what this is all about. So through that process, one of my favorite manufacturers was Molix, an Italian company most of you, I think, are familiar with. And Molix builds great stuff. They kind of have the same philosophy. They love being in the bait building business. They're all about quality. They're all about unique design. So it fit perfectly. And so we sort of approached them trying to find a way to buy the Molix USA portion. You know, they are a worldwide manufacturer. Their distribution in the US, they were far removed from. That was a tough program for them. So we basically came in, and the end of the business deal is we took over what used to be the Molix USA. So they're really a supplier partner for Duckett Fishing. It's all owned by Duckett Fishing. It'll be all under the Duckett Fishing, banner and under our logo through our ownership. But it's a cool partnership because I hope that it will help them. They want to build baits and sell them into the U.S. That's the same goal that we had. So that's what made it such a good marriage. And just the fact that their process of building. So they've sort of become our main high quality manufacturer. We took some of the Molix USA baits, a few that they already had that we really liked. And then we started developing new baits as well. And a lot of stuff on the table. What you're seeing today is just the beginning of the launch. We don't have final product for 21. We don't have all of our final product. We have most of what the Molix portion that will be launched in 21 is here today. And there's so much product because we're moving into all fields with the exception of plastic baits. We're moving into all other fields. So I'm not going to kill you by running you through 944 SKUs. I mostly wanted you to see and have a chance to interact with you on questions on why we are doing these designs, what this is all about. So that's kind of the premise. That's what's happened. So I will run through, and as Todd said, I think he wants to hold questions to the end, so you'll have to make notes on any of these particular baits. But I'm going to start mostly because Larry has them in an order, so I'm going to follow his order. So we're going to talk about the subtle tail first. One of the, and I'll hold this up, I have to remember to hold these things up fairly close. This is a 4.5 subtle tail. That is what the packaging looks like, because you're probably all seeing this for the first time because it hasn't existed but just a minute. So being a big user of swim baits, and swim baits being such a popular part of the market, we wanted to try to work on and create designs that were unique. This is a bait that Molix had designed. I wasn't involved in this design originally, and we were going through the process of testing all these possibles and some stuff we'd created and they'd created, and this bait looked fairly insignificant because the tail barely moves. It's, as you can see, it's got a little tiny flap down towards the back end. It's a very thin back body. It's a ribbed body, and it's a finesse swim bait, clear water finesse swim bait. Has very little action, which is why we called it a subtle tail. It's not a heavy kick, but less is better often. Okay, I can tell you, man, traveling the country and trying to catch these hard to catch fish, even here at Guntersville, there's oftentimes they don't bite. And actually in the testing process, this bait just caught them. I mean, this was a pretty simple pick. This bait caught them and we started testing this last fall when the bite was really tough here. It took very few baits I could get them to bite. And so I got real excited about this bait. We expanded it to, I think the one we originally tested was a 3.5. This is a 4.5, and we also have it in a 6-inch. That's the bigger 6-inch, Tennessee River and guys that are trying to catch bigger ones. But oftentimes this finesse swim bait is really a key deal. So I'm excited about this bait. There's not much like this on the market. Everybody else's boot tail kicks hard, which doesn't offer that finesse presentation. So that's what the subtle tail is. I'll answer questions in the end about that because that's how Todd said we had to do it. Just picking on you. Another really cool product that we're growing and expanding on is called the water slash spinnerbait. Right, this water slash spinnerbait is a compact, small spinnerbait. We also have other full-size spinnerbaits in the Duckett Fishing spinnerbait lineup, but this is a really cool one that we work with Molix on. Show it to you in the packaging. It comes in both a willow leaf combination as well as a Colorado combination. I don't know if you can tell, I'll set it in my hand where you can really tell how small that spinnerbait is. So what's that all about? I can tell you as a tournament angler, one of the hardest things for us often is getting a bite. And for most anglers, we build a lot of baits for when they're biting and how to catch. We talk about how to catch the 5 biggest, and everybody wants to catch a big bass. Majority of America is trying to get a bite, guys. And there's a bunch of days we are too. And these little compact spinnerbaits, it's been a favorite of mine. I've handmade some. I've got a custom bait builder that built some. Super high quality finish, tournament grade, super sharp hooks. Obviously any of the swivels or high quality swivels, a high quality bait. But the whole idea behind this is these are baits that customers can buy and you just get a ton of bites on. And trust me, you can catch 5-6 pounder on it. But instead of the same old big spinnerbait they've seen over and over, these little compact spinnerbaits, I think this is the future for spinnerbait sales as opposed to the stuff that's always been out there. So I'll move past that, because Larry's got his watch on me here to make sure we keep rolling. And staying on spinnerbaits, this is really a cool design. So way back, this is called the triple threat. And as you can see, it comes in a fairly large box, and you're going to understand why. This has 3 wires and 3 blades. It's also a fairly compact spinnerbait, if you see it by comparison to my hand. And this bait is very unique, and it offers a flash combination that is different than other spinnerbaits. Through the years, I have fished multi-blade spinnerbaits. They're one of my favorites in clear water, or when the bite is tougher. As you can see, I'm really interested in when the bite's tougher. It's easy to catch them when they're biting, guys. If you can build baits that catch them when the bite's tough, you're going to sell product, okay? But most of the time they're in a row and on the shaft. So this being on 3 separate arms, creates a completely different look. It's very, very unique, and I'm excited about this. I think this will really be a good seller. It's a bait size that is pretty national. You could use it in most any water, and very unique. Get a ton of bites. So that's what the triple thread is. The Vibra Swim, you guys have probably seen this before. The Vibra Swim was a previous Molix USA bait. We took over that bait or one that we kept from the lineup. And basically, that's what it looks like in the packaging. And for me, this was one of the baits, oh man, 7-8 years I used this bait, bought them from Molix. So we were excited about getting this. Comes with quality hardware, an upgraded super sharp hook. But this is not a chatterbait. When it first came out, it was kind of pitched to me by some of the guys, it's something similar to a chatterbait. This is not designed to be a chatterbait. This is really swim bait head. And so what I'll do, you can go with or without. And by the way, you can disconnect this hook. That hook's on a split ring. So if you're not satisfied with the 3/0 hook that comes on, it's a pretty good hook size. It's real easy to change out and go to the hook that you want. But this head, this is like a really unique swim bait head. And a lot of times I'll put a fairly insignificant swim bait. I'm not looking for a big kick behind it. I used to fish an original fluke, not a super fluke, put something like an original fluke behind it. Now I'm putting that subtle tail behind it, which is a really good combination. So that's the Vibra Swim. You've probably seen it before. It was one of my favorites, so we sure wasn't going to let that get away. But it's not a chatterbait, guys. It's a swim bait head. Very unique. It's a lot of bites in that circumstance. A couple of other really cool baits. Everybody throws jerk baits. We wanted to enter the market with a high quality jerk bait. This is the Speedy 110 suspending. That's what it looks like in the packaging. Here's one out of the package because we have tournament quality super sharp hooks and I didn't want to injure myself during the presentation. So I made Larry take them all out. He stuck one in the carpet, by the way. Okay, while he was trying to handle it, it drops on the floor. He couldn't get out. I don't know how to get out of the carpet. So I didn't want to have this. Basically, this 110 suspending, this is not like your open water. We've got a BD 115 long cast open water swim jerkbait. That's become the most popular way to fish a jerkbait. One of the things that I always struggled with, and there are a few out there, are shallower jerkbaits that you can fish around the bank. I mean, back at 30 years ago, the little Rapala balsa crankbait was one of my favorites, and we fished it around stuff. We fished on the bank, and there's a ton of fish that will hit a small, shallow jerkbait, without having, you guys all know how many open water 10-foot running jerkbaits are out there. So that was kind of designed to fish around cover. It doesn't, this bait fishes in 2 to 3 foot of water. It's a cool size. It has a weight system to assist in casting. It's not terribly heavy. It is a suspending bait, but it's not designed to fall deep. And it's a great shape and it jerks right. When I'm trying to decide or create a jerk bait and going through jerk bait molds, what it looks like in the package, I'm interested in the jerk bait acting properly. One of the things that I learned through the years working with sponsors of mine and working on custom made baits, the bait business is hard for a reason. When you're in manufacturing, you want to design a bait, you want to build a mold. Mold's expensive. You create the product, and the bait may or may not catch fish, number one, or may not perform the way you want it. So some of the bigger manufacturers that maybe, and I understand the economic side of that, you can't settle for what the bait became. That's one of the things that I think in the bait business, a few companies have done a good job of this. You have to be willing to scrap the mold redesign, scrap the mold, redesign, move the lip, change the weighting, change the length, change the hook size. You have to go through that process if you're going to end up with a bait that is a fish catching bait. You know, I think back to 25 years ago when Lucky Craft got in the business. And one of the things that impressed me as they grew in the business was the fact that they took the time and effort. I know that they did because it's not that easy. Most everything you bought from them was a good fish catching bait, whether you use that bait or you didn't use that bait. Now they got, gosh, $20 or $25, you know, 25 years ago. I mean, you know, they were so much higher. But that I now have more respect than ever for the process that they must have gone through and how many baits they didn't build. So that's just kind of an inside story of you know, reaching full circle to understand how long it takes to make this stuff work. This is also in a 95. Now this is more traditionally your deep diving baits, a little smaller bait. It's a 95. And it's weighted, and that's your open water suspended bait. And the same deal here, you know, you play with these baits and the combinations and the weights until you find something that has the right movement in the water, and it just becomes a fish catching movement. I'll tell you another secret I learned, and I've talked, you know, through the years because I love bass fishing. I've tournament fished since I was 17, which was 1977. When a lot of good stuff available way back then. But as bait designers, I mean the hand custom, you know, Lee Systems, guys I've fished with, I'm, you know, through the years, I won't, you know, I haven't fished with all of them, but most of them, okay? And I love talking about creating baits. And if those guys, if you get them off camera and they're not obligated to say the right things, they'll tell you the truth. And that is, we'll design a bait and we think we know what it needs to look like. And we think we know what it needs to act like. But some of them catch them and some of them don't. I mean, you guys all know because you cover this industry, there's 9 million 1.5 crankbaits out there. And there's about 6 that catch them. And the reason is, well, here's the point to the story. I don't really know what the reason is. I got an idea. I know what it's supposed to feel like. I've got a good start. But what it really requires is continuing to be dedicated to make changes to the bait until it becomes a fish catching bait. That's the process. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it is time consuming and you have to be willing to invest to do that. And those are the things, as our industry grew up, bait sales grew up, some of the bigger brands, you know, it's so hard to work through that process, especially if you're not manufacturing here in Guntersville, Alabama, which we're not. It's another reason why this partnership with Molix has been so fun and exciting for us. Those guys are that same person. You know, they get it, man. There's never a resistance when you call it, you know, it looks great and we're all excited about it and finish is perfect, and you got to call and say, man, it just doesn't work, you know. And they're not mad about it. It's like, what do you think we should do? You know, what should we do next? That's what's so much fun working with the guys at Molix. So I just wanted to share that story because I know even, you know, hand carving balsa, and you get something that's a little different shape and you take it out there and the bass don't eat it because we don't always know what they eat. So that's our philosophy. That's the process we're following. Moving on, BD 110. This is a super sound. So one of my favorite topwater baits is noisy. Most of the time when I'm throwing a topwater, I'm fishing for oftentimes a little bigger fish, and I want them to see it and I want them to hear it. And as you can see from bait sales, a lot of that has been the case. Well, this is probably the largest walking bait, the loudest walking bait you've ever encountered. I don't know how well you can hear this across the screen. And it's not a giant bait. It's a 110. It walks real easily, but it is full of sound chambers. That's the whole deal here. You throw it out over in open water, they can hear it, they can see it, and come get it. So this is pretty unique. There's a million walking baits out there. There are a couple that are fairly loud, none as loud as this one. And I think that's the key component to drawing fish up in open water. They see lots of baits, guys, and you've got to offer them something that is different. And if you can ever, which I won't say we're smart enough, so if you're ever lucky enough, okay, to find that sound, you got a winner. You know, you can talk to the folks at Bill Lewis that design rattle traps. I mean, that's a sound bait, okay? There's a bunch of copies. There are certain combinations of sound that work, whatever reason, and there's certain combinations that don't. So same principle. It's a matter of going through it. But this is going to be a great bait seller for us because it catches fish and makes a tremendous amount of sound. Moving forward, this is our sneaky frog. We also have other standard-looking frog products in our Duckett Fishing lineup. We don't have the product to show you today, but this one we do have, and this one is really cool. The sneaky frog. It's a fairly large profile frog. Show you one out of the box. Show it to you in my hand where you can see it. But this frog slides across the water. That's how we came up with the name Sneaky Frog. And basically you work it like a walking bait. So for me, this is not a mat frog. This is not really what I would throw. I throw either a standard frog if I'm on matted milfoil or something like that, a popping frog a lot of times on mat. This is more of an open water walking bait. So I would skip this under docks. I fish it around scattered vegetation. It's a fairly big profile, but not killer. Comes with a super sharp components. These hooks, you don't have to sharpen them. Everything comes tournament ready. Every product we have will always be tournament ready, the way I would buy, or any of us on tour would buy them. And we change out split rings, we change out hooks. All those tweaks are done when you get it out of the package. So it's very unique. It's more of that open water frog presentation, and hopefully the world will love it. See what else we got. The Sculpto series. This one is the Sculpto XD. That's my deep. I got it out. I got it out of. Well, that's a deep also. Sculpto XD. The Sculpto series. This is a very unique bait. This is something that I really like. We also have a BD8, a BD12, and a BD16 in a more standard diving configuration. This one is unique, the Sculpto series. As you can see by comparison to the lip, and this is the XD, this bait runs about 16 feet deep, but it has a very small body by comparison. As you can kind of tell, I wish we could do all this in person like we did for years, but we don't live in that world anymore. So you look through the screen, but as you can see, the bill is almost as big as the bait. And the principle behind this bait swims really good. This big bell deflects, but the body is not as big as most of the baits that run 16 feet deep. And I'm back to my premise. If you build baits that catch fish when it's hard to catch fish, you're going to move the needle. And so that's the thought process behind this. I've caught a ton of fish, fishing ledges with this bait. When fishing's good, I would argue they eat it as good as some of the other ones. Now, I will say, if I'm on a school that's dead fired up, I'm going to throw a big body bait and try to catch the biggest one in the school. But most of the time, I'm trying to figure out how to catch them. And these smaller, more finesse style crankbaits really fit that. We also have arguably the same bait in a DR. This bait runs about 10 feet deep. It's identically the same principle. I'll try to hold it so you can see how long the bill is by comparison, but it's a very small body. It's also a very unique body. As you can see, it's flat-sided. It's not that V'd body shape that so many of the crankbaits are. Very unique body style. Same principle, take that little tiny body and get it down into 10 feet. What's the total time, Todd, on this presentation? Okay.
As
He
long
says
as
I got
you
about
need.
three. I got about 3 minutes to pick up the pace. He's telling me.
Yeah, I mean, it was to 11:45, but we can go on. As long as
Revolt, the Revolt crankbait. This one is very unique, and this is a cool bait. This bait, this is a plastic bait that is a flat side. Try to hold this correctly. That's a flat-sided crankbait, narrow, as you can see. I like to throw a flat side. I throw a lot of wooden flat side baits. And this bait, I don't know if you can see this, but it's concave right there where my finger is. It's trying to turn so that you can see that. And the design behind this bait is it moves a ton of water, has a tight wobble, good cold water bait. There again, it's a bait when they're not chasing the fast moving, large crankbaits displacing a ton of water, a lot tighter wobble, more in the effect of a shad wrap style bait, but made in plastic, obviously all tournament hardware on it. And one of the things I like about this bait, you know what I like about the bait the most? It catches fish. I'll go back to my deal. You play with this stuff and you find one that they eat. This is one of those. It's the only one in the series. Okay, I'll tell you in full disclosure, I built a shallow one, a deeper one, and a medium runner, and this is the only one that was special, which is why there's only one in the Revolt series. Still working. I'd love to have one that runs about 4 feet. Set it down, but don't hand it to you. Larry's scared to grab these out of my hand. Super these hooks on them. Okay, moving along. We have in swim baits. We talked earlier about the subtle tail. We also have a really cool. This is the 4.5 in the RT shad. Real thing is what the RT stands for. This bait's available 3.5, 4.5. And we're coming with a 6-inch. Standard, move a lot of water, tail on it, but what's different is this is a solid bodied bait. Okay, this is not a hollow belly bait. This bait is unique, it's very durable, and I wanted to have a solid body in this. There's a lot of things you can do rigging this bait you can't do with a hollow belly because of the hook comes out of a hollow belly. I fish this on lead head often. It's great. It's a great utility swim bait. It's a great shape. And through the process of testing a lot of these different items, this was the fish catcher, the best fish catcher of these baits. So the RT shad. Towards the end. So I'm getting towards the end. Todd saying, thank goodness, because I could talk about baits forever. So I want to, and I don't even have final packaging on this. This is going to be called the BD swim bait. As you can see, this is very similar to other hollow belly design swim baits. Boyd, why would you possibly build another hollow belly design swim bait? Oh, swim bait thrower you are. We have it in a 4-inch, 5-inch, and a 6-inch. That's the 6-inch. I like to throw a hollow belly style swim bait. They swim differently if they're the ones that are built correctly. You want to have a V in the belly so that the bait rocks when it swims. It's not about the boot tail. It's more about the movement of the bait. The best hollow belly style swim baits, the whole bait moves. What I don't like about all of them is I don't want to have to throw a 3/4 ounce head to put a 5-inch swim bait in 15 foot of water. So if you put a 3/8 head on it, and I've got a pool that's 11 feet deep, and I can test a lot of this stuff with light heads. If you let a 3/8 head go 15 feet deep, when you wind it, it does absolutely nothing. It has zero movement. The bait is not swimming fast enough for the bait to act. So this is a new plastic with that we found a manufacturer that actually we didn't create this plastic. This is a plastic that we ran across from a manufacturer that's building another product out of it. And the plastic is super soft and durable. It's not like the 10X deal. It's not that. It's a standard plasticizer, but it's different from anything I had seen. So we poured some of these, and it is phenomenal what this bait does for movement. So now I can take a 3/8 head, I can throw this bait in 15 foot of water, and it never stops moving. Not just the boot tail, the body continues to turn. I've caught a bunch of fish on this, and I'll tell you that in the Duckett Fishing bait launch, we have all these baits coming next year. And as you guys know, you follow this industry, you know, what launches these bait companies, you know, is when they, you know, is the Alabama rig or the chatterbait, or, you know, as a bait company, you want that something magic. And I'm going to argue this might be that unique magic. This swim bait is different. You know, we'll be happy to send anybody that's interested in testing this stuff. I'd love to send you a pack of this. It is different. Okay, Larry said you're all getting a gift pack, so this will definitely be in it. But if you can get in some clear water and you watch this bait, even on a light head, whatever head size you throw, you're going to see this swimming design. It's unique from anything else, bass tricks, hollow bellies, anything you've ever thrown. And I'm probably most excited about that bait. I think that will be the launch product that really makes Duckett Fishing, you know, hit the new levels. So I've talked enough. Questions about any of the baits?
Hey, Boyd.
Torres, how are you, man?
Pretty good. This is kind of off topic, but not off topic. But how do you feel in terms of color and how that plays in catching fish? Because we could look at a bait and it looks gorgeous, but the bass are like, yeah, whatever. Okay.
You're exactly right. So in the process of choosing bait colors, which we went through that in anything, the way I approach color is I start with the obvious. I start with the standard. You know, if I'm around a shad bait, I try to go with shad patterns. But one of the things that I have found is, you know, there are so many people fishing today. There's so much information. That's you guys' fault, okay, for putting out all this real information about which baits to throw and what colors work in environments, that I think the fishing pressure has made a lot of these colors. I think fish are shy of a lot of these colors. And there are certain colors, like even in a shad pattern, and you know, this swim bait, this is basically a tungsten shad. You know, it's got kind of a gray back, but if you'll look at the white, it's really a vanilla, because white baits don't work unless they're biting. They don't work right. The color that works for a bass is a vanilla or a yellowed white. So using the experience of colors that seem more natural to them. Now, why? I have no idea, but I can tell you from experience. Same thing in crankbaits. You know, Rapala has a great, Larry always hates it because I'm just so honest. I use everybody's brand. I tell you everything that's good, no matter who it is. But you know, the white on a Rapala DT10, you know, that standard, trying to think the name of that color, you know, it's the gray back, white bottom. That's a good white color. And a lot of the manufacturers just use standard white, and you just don't get the bites on it. So, you know, the question is, how do you determine colors? I have learned from experience that there are certain color combinations that must look way more accurate. That's one of the things we did, was we tried to pick color combinations from experience that I know that fish like. But you know, the pro answer, okay, is don't fall in love with any of them. That's why you have multiple colors. And I can tell you that throwing crankbaits out here, Tennessee River, I live right on Lake Gunnersville, and there are certain colors that are good here. But I always have 6 probably out because I throw about 4 or 5 times. If I ever get a short strike, my color's wrong, generally. Or you hair hook one. If you're willing to go, when I open my crankbait box and I'm throwing, deep Sculpto DRs and 16 foot, I go ahead and get about 4 or 5 colors out, and I'll until they gut it, and because color does make a difference often, especially on pressured lake, especially when it's tough. So the real answer, if you don't have the experience, to know some of these color combinations that should be right, change them. That's the biggest thing, man. And you see all of us on tour, you'll watch how many crankbaits we have in our tray. I mean, you've seen us at the end of a weigh-in day, and it's going through that process. I don't know what makes it different, but you got to be willing to change colors.
Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Hey,
Steve.
Boyd, how are you, man?
Doing good.
Long time no see, dude. I have 2 questions. First, about the triple threat. What weight sizes are you going to have? And is the pricing going to be any different for like that Sneaky Frog? And what's the pricing schedule or pricing thing going to look like? Are these going to be, because the Molix that Molix Sneaky Frog is like $13 or $14, I think. Is it going to stay the same price, or is it going to come down a little bit?
Larry, price on the what's the price? Our retail price on Sneaky Frog?
$1 less than the current Sneaky Frog that's on the market.
$1 less than the current Sneaky Frog that's on the market.
And what about what weight sizes is the triple threat going to come in?
Yeah, 1/2 ounce only, 4 colors.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And that's the current launch, and that's just because that's what it takes to run that bait correctly. 1/2 ounce is not heavy. I know it sounds heavy, but with all those blades, it takes that.
Yeah, yeah. Did you fish it? Did you put a trailer on it when you started testing it, or were you just using it just bare?
I've used it both ways, but I've fished it bare. I think I've had more bites fishing it bare than anything. Way it comes. If you put a trailer on it, it can't be much.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got one for the,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask the triple threat and the other spinnerbait, are they R-bend or twisted line tie?
There are bend.
Hey, Boyd, just wondering who's going to be throwing this stuff on the tour next year besides you? It's not like you don't catch a few still occasionally, but I imagine you're going to need some help with.
We are, and John, we're just now figuring out which portion of our pro staff is going to come over to baits. We've signed Chris Lane, so Chris Lane, that would be. I don't know that. Have we done an announcement on that? Yeah, we haven't even done an announcement on that, but we'll do a press release here shortly. So myself and Chris Lane's the only ones locked up right now, but we're kind of in the process of doing that.
Okay.
Congratulations, Boyd. Molix is definitely a great product to add to what you guys have going on.
Thanks, Ricky. It's been a lot of fun, and we talked mostly today about our partnership with Molix, and there's a lot of other products coming as well. So this has been a fun process, and I guess we're probably in this a lot different than some of the other bait companies. But this has been, we build a lot of rods and reels, as you guys know, and we enjoy being in that business. But I can tell you, everybody in the building, and this is the way we like doing things. This is like the most fun. We do our business and everybody's working, but then we get the baits out, and like every time there's a crowd, it maybe me and Larry only have one thing to talk about, and it just migrates the team in, so it's been a lot of fun working on this bait project.
So with y'all taking over, will there be a Molix brand here in the U.S., or is it all strictly going through Boyd Duckett baits?
Yeah. So, and they'll be under Duckett Fishing brand, not under Boyd Duckett. It'll be the same logo you see on rods and reels. And the plan is, when we did our business contract, we didn't force them to stay out of the U.S., but they have no desire to be in the U.S. So, you know, they want us to grow and them manufacture the bait. So that's where it stands. We currently, those items that we wanted to have, you know, we kept, but Molix is not exempt from being able to sell in the U.S.
Awesome. Well, again, congratulations, and keep Larry straight.
Yeah, that's tough.
Hi, Boyd. This is Alex Weston with Saltwater Sportsman. We like to keep an eye out on new baits that come on the market. As most people know, a lot of baits that work for the bass market translate really well to saltwater inshore fishing. And I was curious how many of the new baits will have the right hardware to make it in the saltwater environment.
Yeah, so that's a good question. It's funny you'd say that because I do exactly the same thing. I look at the saltwater product, trying to find something I can pull over and use bass fishing, you know, that everybody isn't throwing. That's cool. But as far as saltwater hardware, the split rings and hooks that are normally used that are chloride resistant, that's not the hooks that we use. But like our split rings and hooks are high quality and coated, so they're not, you know, non-coated steel, so they should hold up somewhat in saltwater, but they're not, you know, what I would call saltwater design hooks.
Gotcha. But something that if you rinse them from basically after use, it should last you for a while.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Any of the katana hooks or some of the, you know, these high quality hooks, they're generally all coated. You know, I fish Brackville. I got a place at Destin, and I fish inshore as well, and really much enjoy doing that. And I have noticed that some of the, you know, if you'll use a high quality hook, they hold up pretty well in saltwater. In all honesty, I don't change them out.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Another quick question. Release date, you're saying 2021 for these baits, and when will they be available for us to take a look at? And third, will there be NDAs?
No NDAs needed. We've these are all in production, and production quantities will be in our warehouse by November. So we'll start shipping to our retailers latter part of November to give you a time frame. And as far as you guys getting them, I think Larry's intention, we have a pretty good volume of samples, and I think that Larry intends to send everybody product.
Yes. Shipment is arriving the end of next week.
Okay.
With the first harvest. We'll have them available on our website by October 1st.
Okay. So Larry says a lot of this product, because our ocean shipment will come at the end of at the end of September, we'll have them on our website by first part of October. But the other question was, when will you see them? And Larry, when will these?
By the end of the month, they're going to each get a sample pack.
By the end of the month, all of you will get a sample pack, Larry tells me.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, well, I like to thank everybody for joining us, and we will send this recording out so everybody has it. And I know there's some folks in the press that could not, media that could not attend, so we'll be sending that out as well. So again, we appreciate it. Thank you, Boyd. It was awesome.
Yes, thank you very much. And guys, most of you have my cell phone. If you don't, then Todd has it as well. After you get your sample packs, if you have questions about any of this stuff, call me. A lot of you do anyway, so you know I love to talk about baits. Call me, I'll tell you whatever I can if you need extra info.
Great. Well, Thanks, everybody. Have a
Todd, Boyd, thank you very much. I appreciate the info.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for joining.
Bye-bye.